A very good evening to one and all present. On behalf of the study circle, I invite you to the 92nd meeting. Today's topic for discussion is the origin and growth of suo motu. And to speak on this topic, we have the former judge of the Madras High Court, Mr. Justice M. Satyanarayana. I now invite Mr. E. Om Prakash, Senior Advocate in the Madras High Court, to give an introduction of the speaker and the welcome.
A hearty welcome on behalf of the study circle to Honorable Mr. Justice M. Satyanarayana and to all the participants of the day. It requires that there is no intervention and holding back when the topic is interesting and you have a prolific speaker to speak of the same. However, seeking liberty from the Honorable Judge, I would like to say a few words as introduction. We had reached out to Justice M. Satyanarayana on few occasions to give a lecture in the study circle webinar, but true to himself, he said as a sitting judge, he does not participate in any private events. However, after his demitting office and before moving to Pune to join NGT as its judicial member, we are lucky to have him in this session to speak on the topic of the day. A junior advocate had briefed a senior for appearance in a case before the High Court. The senior had asked the junior whether he found any precedent on the point. The instant answer was that the matter would appear before Justice Satyanarayana bench and the Honorable Judge would have at his disposal all the case laws and we need not worry. Such was the reputation of the Honorable Judge, as he had the treasure of knowledge on any subject just adjacent to him in his citation book. The judge has a unique style of handling the cases. The moment a case is called out and papers handed over to him, he would read the case papers. When I say read, you would have seen his eyes moving in the papers vertically in a flash of moment. Such was his speed of reading, while the pencil in his hand would make marks horizontally. It did not matter before him whether a junior, a seasoned advocate, or a designated senior is appearing. What mattered was the issue for consideration. Honorable Mr. Justice Satyanarayana was elevated to the Madras High Court on 23rd April 2008, when he had to give up his practice as an advocate, which he had nurtured in a very systematic manner. There was not much of a difference in his working culture, be it as an advocate or judge of the High Court. He continued to be the same person to everyone. Many had the judge very near to their heart, and the relationship was unique, as hardly for a long period we would not have met him or spoken to him in person, but still we felt very near to him. Is he a popular judge, an unpopular judge, or an unsung hero of the judiciary? I leave it to you to ponder, as according to me, none of this vocabulary matters for him. His presence mattered a lot in the High Court for more than a decade, true to its legacy. We had one of the finest judges of our times, and we only missed to bid a traditional farewell to him from the court premises. Coming to the topic of the day, suo motu. The suo motu proceedings by the court had developed a jurisprudence extending the arm of the court to do a complete justice on many matters. We are today going to hear more of it from the speaker of the day. With this introduction, I will call upon the speaker to address the participants.
Yes. Good evening to all of you and vanakkam. Before dwelt upon the topic, let me say a few words about what is meant by public interest litigation. The concept of public interest litigation, I think you lawyers, everyone know, it is developed by Honorable Mr. Justice P.N. Bhagavati, former Chief Justice of India. The public interest litigation, in short, PIL, and rather it has become PIL. It gives you succor and relief to poor, downtrodden, who are unable to reach the portals of the courts. And till the year 1980, the constitutional courts, namely Supreme Court as well as High Courts, used to entertain petitions only on a format prescribed by the rules. Later on, this concept has been developed by Honorable Mr. Justice P.N. Bhagavati, wherein development took place that any aggrieved persons can write a letter, telegram to the High Court, to the registry. The registry in turn will place the matter before the Honorable Chief Justice. Of course, you may not know it. Normally, a judge cannot suo motu take up the matter. A single judge cannot suo motu take up the matter. Suppose a single judge is interested that the matter involves larger public interests. He will put up a note to the registry to be with a request to place the matter before the Honorable Chief Justice. And if the Honorable Chief Justice feels that it requires consideration, he may list the matter before the bench. either a single bench. Normally it is before a division bench. Sometimes, rarely, it is also listed before a single bench. As far as first case is concerned, it is the petition was filed by Husainara Khatun. The Supreme Court, which pertains to provision of legal aid to the prisoners, especially prisoners who are languishing in Bihar jails. And the Honorable Supreme Court felt that right to legal aid is also a right, rather a fundamental right available to the prisoner, because most of them are under trial prisoners, and you know the concept of criminal law. As far as under trial prisoners are concerned, they are presumed to be innocent until the guilt is proved to the guilt. And as far as the convicted prisoners are concerned, once there is a conviction, there is a stigma of conviction getting attached unless it is set aside by the higher court in exercise of appellate jurisdiction. The Supreme Court took up the matter in Husainara Khatun matter, and which resulted in release of nearly 40,000 under trial prisoners. And the concept of what is public interest litigation has been defined in S.P. Gupta, a famous case, namely S.P. Gupta versus Union of India, a decision reported in AR 1982 Supreme Court, page 149. The concept of public interest litigation, rather the introduction of the public interest litigation, is enshrined in Article 39 capital A of the Constitution of India. And after Justice P.N. Bhagavati, one of the erudite judges of the Honorable Supreme Court of India, Honorable Justice V.R. Krishnaiah, had followed the suit, where the traditional concept of going by the rule book or following the rules framed by the High Court, either on its original side or appellate side, has been given up. Once a letter is placed before the Honorable Chief Justice, or the Honorable Chief Justice also feels the matter requires so much consideration, a note will be put up to the registry. The registry will normally print a cause title, and the concept of the litigation to be taken up by way of public interest litigation. Then it will be listed before the concerned bench by the orders of the Honorable Chief Justice. Then the notices will be issued to the concerned departments or ministries. In year 1996 Supreme Court, page 2193, Mr. Kuldeep Nair, a famous journalist, in his capacity as the President of Citizens for Democracy, had sought the leave of the court to entertain a petition alleging human rights violation in respect of the detainees who have been detained under the Terrorist and Disruptive Prevention Act. In short, it's famously called TADA, TADA. And it was treated as a writ petition by the Honorable Supreme Court of India under Article 32 of the Constitution of India. The suo motu writ petitions are taken up, as I already pointed out, based on letters, telegrams, and media reports. Media reports mainly on newspaper reports. As far as newspaper reports is concerned, you know the concept of the newspaper report. Unless the authenticity is proved, normally the newspaper reports will not be taken as evidence. But still it is open to the court, because most of the majority of the cases are taken up only based upon the newspaper reports, especially during this COVID pandemic time. Right from March 2019, very many writ petitions had been taken up on the basis of the newspaper reports with regard to the adherence to the COVID-19 protocol, especially by the authorities in exercise of the powers under the Disaster Management Act. The concept of PAL is provide relief to the poor, downtrodden, who do not know the legal wrangle or procedure as to how to approach the court. And of course, it is also subject to abuse and misuse. Later on, the concept of the word public interest litigation, namely PIL, got coined in the form of private interest litigation, paisa interest litigation, and publicity interest litigation. Of course, in any concept, there is bound to be abuse and misuse. Even statutes are subject to abuse and misuses. And you know, as far as abuses of the statutes are concerned, it is not a ground to test the virus. Despite our very recent times, the public interest litigation is subject to various abuses and misuses. Still, the advantage is more. Sometimes, most of the times, the courts will come down on very heavy hand by imposing exemplary cost. And in fact, a very recent decision, the Honorable First Bench has directed the particular so-called public interest litigant not to file any PIL, and also directed the registry not to entertain any PIL for 1 year in respect of litigation filed by a public interest litigant, that a concerned public interest litigant. There are 3 judgments. I already referred to SP Gupta. There are 2 other judgments. A famous judgment, Sunil Batra. This is often quoted judgment. Sunil Batra versus Delhi administration. Reported in 1978, 4 SCC 494. A prisoner has written a letter as to the brutal assault on the prisoners who are in judicial custody or under trial prisoners. The Honorable Supreme Court has taken up the matter and granted relief. And insofar as the Amarnath Yatra is concerned, 67 pilgrims died due to lack of medical health. The Supreme Court has took it on quote suo motu on its own motion, that is reported in AR 2012 Supreme Court, page 284. In fact, I had an occasion to sit in the jurisdiction for nearly 4 or 5 terms. And as far as public interest litigation is concerned, the technicalities won't come into play. Though a writ petition is filed under Article 226, there are line of judgment to that effect. Since you are invoking a original jurisdiction of this court, the principle of pleading would equally apply to a public interest litigation. A pleading in the affidavit filed in support of a writ petition normally should be supported by typeset or documents. And whatever documents filed in the typeset or documents should find a reference in the pleadings. Technically, it cannot be called as a pleadings. Pleadings would come into play only in a civil proceedings in the form of plaint and written statement. But normal parlance, we use pleadings. But the only exception is the public interest litigation. Sometimes I come across cases where a person who wants to wreak vengeance upon a person also invokes a public interest litigation, the jurisdiction of PIL. And sometimes, most of the cases, I also found a powerful person who is an opponent also adopt all kind of method to prevent filing of the public interest litigation. Sometimes the person who is an unscrupulous element brings this fact to the knowledge of this court. If he feels that person has got a private interest or some axe to grind against a private respondent, and if he feels a public interest is involved, the bench normally eschew from out of consideration. Then we will take up a matter as a suo motu public interest litigation. To get the assistance, the court normally appoints an amicus curiae. And most of the public interest litigation, we also follow the concept of continuous mandamus in the form of monitoring the matter if it involves a really larger public interest. Now, as a judicial member of National Crime Tribunal, the practice we follow is whenever a judicial member or expert member come across, normally NGT come across only newspaper reports, but day in, day out, there are a lot of newspaper reports with regard to the CRZ 1 violation, sand mining, obstruction of water course, or obstruction of river, we will request the registry to put up a note before the Honorable Chairperson who permits the zonal benches to take up the matter by way of litigation. Same principle that are being followed in, to my knowledge, our Madras High Court also. The public interest litigation is really a good relief and succor to the needy persons, and it has become order of the day. And daily at least 10 to 15 writ petitions are filed. To restrict a non-bona fide public interest litigation, a committee has also been formed by the High Court, whether a suo motu writ petition can be taken up. In fact, that committee was originally headed by me with the membership of Honorable Mr. Justice Sendil Kumar Ramamurthy. All these letters are placed before the committee. We will go through the contents of the letter, and if it requires, apart from the power of the Honorable Chief Justice to take up the matter, if it really requires the suo motu cognizance, the court will take the suo motu cognizance. And sometimes party in person is also used to file public interest litigation. There is also called a party in person rules. That also come into play. Whether a party in person can be entertained, and in the garb of a public party in person, we cannot abuse the process of the court or undermine the majesty of the court. Now you also know the High Court of Madras has also framed the statutory rules. The rule is called Rules to Regulate Public Interest Litigations, filed under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. See, what happened was some time back, when a writ petition was filed, when we ordered notice, the private respondent, it happened before my bench, said that PIL was not really filed by a person, the petitioner. The person has also filed an affidavit, he did not file the PIL. Therefore, a bench headed by me suggested to find out the genuineness of the person who invokes the jurisdiction of the public interest litigation. We request the Honorable Chief Justice to produce any, in the form of a family ration card, driving license, or Aadhaar card, to show the person who files a public interest litigation, really the person who is existing. Therefore, a rule came to be amended. Whenever a person, party in person, files a public interest litigation, some authenticity in the form of these documents should be filed. As already said, even otherwise, eschewing the person out of consideration, we can also take suo motu take up the matter. In fact, the last portion of the rule also says the above rules will not be applicable to the public interest litigation taken on the file by High Court suo motu. That's what I said. The rules prescribe certain formalities as to the filing of the PIL. If it is a suo motu PIL, these rules need not be made applicable. Therefore, we need not stand on technical formalities in respect of a suo motu public interest litigation. Of course, the public interest litigation can be filed under Article 32 of the Constitution of India and Article 226 of the Constitution of India. And it is purely an interactive session. Anybody want to raise any question, or if you want to interact, in fact, since it is a study circle and it is also a learning process for me, because in my humble opinion, nobody said to master the law, even if they practice in the particular field for over very many decades. Therefore, every day is a learning process. And today I am also here to learn something from you also. Therefore, let us interact.
Yes, members who are interested in raising some query or looking.
And if you got any specific knowledge which I have not thrown any light, please, you are free to interact also.
So V.S. Jayakumar, I have unmuted you, sir.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Jayakumar, how are you?
Sir, you need to unmute yourself.
Yes, he is yet to be muted. He is yet to be unmuted. Yes, sir.
Morning, sir. Before I start, I have a sad news for you. My good friend Devanathan passed away.
Oh, yes,
But-
I heard it. We used to see him at that Mamalam temple.
Exactly. Suddenly he passed away on a cardiac arrest. So today,
Uh.
so I'm extremely sorry to say that with a sad note.
Let his noble soul rest on the feet of the Lord Almighty.
Yes, brother. And coming to the issue on hand, the suo motu, the basic doubt I have is, under what, is a wrong question to ask a judge. Under what authority court is doing it? Is it under Article 142? If it's Supreme Court. If it's High Court, why can every judge, any judge can suo motu take action? Only chief.
No, that is why normally I don't want to name the judge. No, normally because it is not a practice, because except that rule which I read it on that the court can take suo motu.
Yes.
Normally we will refer them, since Honorable Chief Justice is the master of the roster, normally we will put up a note. But recently I come across one of the Honorable judges took up the one matter suo motu. Of course, the Honorable Chief Justice on the administrative side had seen the issue and refer the matter once again to the Honorable Land and Single Judge to take up the matter. That is also, I think, pending adjudication. Therefore, let us not say what is that matter, since it is pending. To my knowledge, still is pending adjudication.
No problem.
Normally, a PAL matter will be dealt only by a division bench. Of course, Honorable Chief Justice is the master of the roster. Normally, it will go before a PAL bench. And it is also open to the Honorable Chief Justice to assign it before any other bench, either it's before a division bench or before the single judge also. Normally, it is before a division bench only.
Does it become a precedent in the eye of law?
Huh?
Does it become a precedent like any other precedent, stare decisions and all that? Because it is
No. It is since it is a prerogative of the Honorable Chief Justice, who is the master of the roster. That is why I said I come across one case where the suo motu PL taken by the Land Single Judge has been posted before the very same Land Single Judge.
No, I'm not on that. I'm only saying the ruling given in the suo motu, does it become a precedent? Doctrine of precedent.
No, it has become a procedure because now it is, that is why we are discussing a topic suo motu.
So not procedure, precedent.
Yes, precedent. Suo motu is a precedent.
Oh, I see.
Become a precedent. It has become that it has become originally it was an unwritten precedent. Now it has become a written precedent in the form. The rule says none of the rules would applicable if the matter is taken up suo motu. PAL rules speak about certain formalities to be complied with. The last portion of the rule says none of the rules would applicable if the matter is taken up suo motu. Therefore, the technical concept of pleading, etc., won't apply to suo motu PAL. Since it is in the form of a telegram, it may be 1-line or 2-line telegram in the form of a postcard written by a person who don't have legal knowledge. Therefore, the concept of these pleadings, principle of pleadings won't apply to PAL.
The one last doubt is it's also a freaky question. Can a judge sitting in Madras can issue a writ for Punjab on suo motu?
Cannot.
Because a judge is a judge all over India.
No, you know the concept of territorial jurisdiction, part of
territorial jurisdiction applies. Obliged. Thank you, brother.
Mr. Jaykumar wanted to say that in a decision arising out of a suo motu proceedings, whether that can be a precedent or not a precedent.
No. Decision, suppose if it courts, if it can be a continuous mandamus or we can give a closure. There are two modes of disposal. Either continuous mandamus or we will dispose of the writ petition with certain directions. And if there is any violation of the order, the party is entitled to invoke the contempt jurisdiction. Either under the Contempt of Courts Act or the High Court under Article 215 of the Constitution of India or the Honorable Supreme Court under Article 129. The second thing is, if it is then after closure of the matter, sometimes we will ask them to file a complaint. Even after we give a closure, suppose it is, take for example, in fact, since it is a pending litigation, I don't want to say the CRZ one violation in respect of this ECR. The continuous mandamus series of directions are issued. In fact, CRZ violation is also dealt by National Green Tribunal. We also got a jurisdiction under Environmental Protection Act. Environmental Protection Act, air pollution and water pollution, and as far as Forest Act is concerned, Forest Conservation Act, then Biodiversity Act. Since environmental aspect covers all living beings in the planet, therefore you have got an extensive and exhaustive jurisdiction. Suppose particular matter, CR set violation, we have passed that order. If any violation, technically it has become present as far as CR set violation is concerned, CR set violation, unless the structures exist prior to the 1996. 1996, if there is a structure exists, then otherwise, in CR-Z1, no construction should come in place. Therefore, technically, it has become a precedent. Any violation, you can bring it to the knowledge of the court. Either by filing a contempt petition, suppose after closure of the matter, repeatedly, periodical report is also called for, because the technicalities won't come into play in PL, anybody can bring you to the knowledge of the court, or in the form of contempt. Since contempt affects the majesty of the court, anybody can invoke the contempt jurisdiction.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vasant Kumar is there. He had raised asking for something.
Good evening. Good evening, Lord.
Good. Mr. Vasant Kumar is known for famous party in person.
Thank you for Lordship's compliment, Lord. Lord, my Lord was indicating that if the court have suspicion on the PAL petitioner, then he would be ousted from court and amicus would be appointed. Lord, I would like to know.
So, not in all cases amicus. Suppose we need assistance amicus, otherwise we can take suo motu.
Yes, ma'am. In the event of court coming to the conclusion that the petitioner is not a bona fide petitioner, and amicus is.
Mr. Asant Kumar, why I am telling you is.
Yes, ma'am.
Take for example the rampant illegal extraction of sand without any license or in violation of the license condition. You know about the mafia.
Yes.
You know that in Madurai, a PAL was filed by a farmer. And when I was sitting in Madurai jurisdiction, I took up the matter. 3 weeks after I entertained the writ petition, the person who filed the PAL and his son were murdered. By a sand mafia. Therefore, now his wife has now to take up the case. Sometimes it may be a rival also. But only those kind of, if it's a opponent is a powerful person, only person with a steady pause sometimes may bring you to the knowledge of this court. Otherwise, a normal person will be threatened, he will withdraw. Normally, he will say, I am not interested in prosecuting the writ petition. Sometimes we may dismiss. Suppose if we feel the illegal extraction of sand take place or some environmental degradation is taking place in the form of other illegal acts. Therefore, we will eschew the person we feel he lacks bona fide or he wants to extract money from the opponent in the form of a paisa interest litigation. We will eschew him out of consideration. Then we will take up the suo motu matter since it involves a larger public interest.
Public interest, yes.
Yeah. Larger public. Only those kind of matters we will take up.
Yes, ma'am. To get appointed as amicus curiae, what would lie be in the mind of the court that this person deserves to be appointed as amicus, Lord? What would be the consideration of the court? But for instance,
consideration, Mr. Avasant Kumar, it is most of the time subjective.
Yes, ma'am.
It differs from judge. The judge feels the concerned advocate is even expertise, he will appoint him.
Yes, ma'am.
It should be the combination of subjectivity with plus objectivity. I feel Mr. Vasant Kumar is one of the experts in constitution matters. So constitution matters come, we may appoint Mr. Vasant Kumar as
because the National Court of Appeal matter.
Because since in National Court of Appeal you filed as a party in person.
Yes, ma'am.
The Supreme Court of India has referred a matter to the constitution. Now still the debate is going on.
Yes, yes. KK Visar is appointed as amicus in that matter. I don't know what weight
Mr. Salman Kursi.
Yes, but his report was negativated by the court. KK Visar was taken into consideration.
All right, still there is a discussion is going on whether the National Court of Appeal should come.
Yes, my court. Yes,
the Supreme Court.
Yes. Open.
Mr. Swaminathan there.
Good evening, Lordship. Swaminathan.
Yes, Mr. Swaminathan, in the light of the latest Supreme Court judgment, I wish you well.
Thank you, Lordship. Thank you, Lord. My question is that whether there is any difference of opinion between the judges on suo motu, or there are any chances that you have come across that the matters are referred to a larger bench in suo motu? Anything to come across to that?
No, larger bench, normally suo motu, because normally I will go with the rule book. You know about me.
No, my lad, I'm just
my personal experience. Whenever I come across any matter which involves public interest, normally I put up a note to the registry with a request to place it before the Honorable Chief Justice.
So any difference of opinion has come across in suo motu?
No, suppose if the matter is listed before the DB and if there is a difference of opinion.
Difference of opinion.
Suppose one of the judges feel there must be a continuous mandamus, or one of the judges feel the matter case closer, no further orders are necessary, or no real public interest involved, it should place before the Honorable Chief Justice.
Chief Justice.
We may refer the matter to the
Third judge.
Either it may be single or either single, normally it's single,
yes.
Or 3 judges also.
3 judges. Thank you, Lord.
Mr. Sundar Mohan wanted to.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Mr. Sundar Mohan.
Sir, my question is not related to law. I want to know which was the most interesting PL handled by you and which gave you the satisfaction of delivering real justice.
No, interesting case is this the child lifting case. Matter was originally taken by Honorable Justice Nagamudha and Honorable Justice Bharadasa.
Yes, sir.
They filed, there is a rampant racket is going on. The child adoption and theft of children. Therefore, it was taken up suo motu. Then, after Honorable Judge Nagamudha debited the office, the matter was listed before me by DB, where we found, in fact, 4 days back, there is in the second page of Indian Express, priceless commodity.
Yes. Yeah.
Either orphanage is misusing.
Yes.
Most of the orphanages or child care home don't follow JJ Act.
Yes.
And in the enforcement mechanism, like any other law, that is why the advocates used to appear before my bench. I used to say, in our wonderful country, there are all laws available to meet out any eventualities. The only problem is tardy implementation.
Yeah.
Tardy implementation and to fail to follow up the matter and fail to strictly implement the law. Most of the homes we found the adoption is given without recourse to law, or the female children after some time were pushed to frustrate, and sometimes the unscrupulous element engage in organ trade. This is the worst form. That is, in fact, I felt because the children who are orphaned, that they are children of God. It is our duty to protect them. Therefore, these kind of things continue to take place. It affects everybody. See, sometimes the child or children are stolen. The parent may not be in a position to know whether the child is alive or not. Suppose if he feel he is no more, this car will be there for 1 or 2 months or 1 year, then they are gone. If the child is missing, the agony is more. The parent may not be in a position, parent or guardian may not be in a position to know whether the child is alive or put into some illegal things, etc. There it creates more problems. That is one of the most interesting matters I dealt with. Of course, the matter is still pending, where it is in the form of a continuous manner.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Other than this pill matters, there are cases where a litigant who comes before the court for a particular cause, but still court intervenes in some interim orders or some final order saying that we treat it as a suo motu. What will be the ambit of it, sir?
Normally it can't be done. Normally it can't be done. Because under the scheme of things, Honorable Chief Justice is first among equals, though the judicial powers of the puisne judge under Honorable Chief Justice are equal. Since he is first among the equal, being the administrative head, it is for the Honorable Chief Justice to assign a case before a particular case.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ashok Patil.
My lords, good evening, my lords.
Yes, good evening. How are you?
Fine, my lords. Thanks so much. My lords, several times, my lord, the court, my lord, gives in a public interest litigation, gives guidelines and gets into this executive aspect also. Well, does this not overburden the court, my lord? Already it's burdened too much. It is also taking up the executive work, my lord.
Mr. Ashok Padi, the difficulty is,
yes, my lord,
the authorities fail to perform their statutory obligations. If they perform statutory obligation, there may not be any writ petitions before this court. And my little bit of experience as a judge for 13 years is, most of the quasi-judicial authorities don't even aware of the statutes under which they pass quasi-judicial orders. They are not even provided with the statute books with the latest amendments. That is why when I realized that, I started extracting the relevant statutory provisions in the order itself, so that when the order goes, at least they can look into the statutory provision and pass orders. Of course, we are overburdened. Even for issuance of family card, it is not the duty of the Constitution. Issue of family card, cleaning up of drainage, removal of garbage, everything, writ petitions are filed. The authorities are overburdened. And in a lighter vein, we say we Indians lack civic sense. Secondly, we Indians always insist for our right. We will not perform our duties and responsibilities. Normally, it should be duties and responsibilities should come first. Thereafter, only our rights. It is contra. Everybody insisting for our rights. Therefore, if we perform our duties properly and if we appear out there to the civics, there may not be any litigations, especially under Article 226.
One more aspect, my lord. Your lordships, many times in your lordships court, my lord, have said, ultimately the lowest authority will be the person who is coming here and he will get the worth of the court. And the actual authority who is in charge escapes. My lord, how to get over this, my lord? This has been happening throughout, my lord. And
that is why, no, it is otherwise, Mr. Ashok Padi. Normally, yes, they plead only secretary to government.
Yes.
They will plead only secretary. Maybe the function will be performed by
the lowest authority.
See, there are awesome duties and responsibility entrusted upon Tahsildars and collectors. I think if you see the functions of the collector, not only is district head and revenue head, under various enactment he has to perform. Suppose if it is a hilly area, he is chairman hilly area. Arbitration Act, as far as highways is concerned, he is acting as arbitrator. There are so many responsibilities. So also Tahsildar, apart from distributing these freebie scheme, etc., perform revenue. Therefore, normally we pity the collector and the Tahsildar. They are entrusted with so many responsibilities. For real person who performs the function may be the block development officer or district development officer. So normally we pass orders only against the collector or a head. Therefore, I said via media suggested you issue an internal circular. Whenever court orders pass that order, it should be bring to the knowledge of the court. Or if you find the person who has been entrusted with the responsibility failed to perform his duty, issue a memo, proceed against him departmentally. Then only he will perform his duties. Because every time we cannot pull up the collector. Normally, you see, even in criminal cases, if you see, they will say only superintendent of police, director general. Normally, casted will be director general of police, commissioner. They will not implement even the station house officers. Normally, you are supposed to give a complaint only to the station house officer. If he did not entertain the complaint, you send it by post. Still, he will not entertain the complaint. Then you should approach the superintendent of police. Then only, then 156(3) involve the jurisdiction of magistrate under 200. Either it can be treated as a private complaint or he will order 156(3). Even 156(3) also in the light of the Lalitha Kumari's case, there must be a preliminary inquiry. An affair cannot be straight away registered unless the complaint prima facie discloses the commission of a cognizable offence. Therefore, this problem is happening. And when we initiate contempt, and despite normally we will be bit liberal in contempt, because all mandamus, most of the mandamus disposal of the representation, we pass it for the sake of the advocates, some for litigants also. Knowing the difficulties because most of the respondents are district collector and Tahsildar, knowing their personal difficulties, normally we will give to 2 weeks time, 3 weeks time, then finally last chance filing like city civil court. you see a statutory notice, then he will say, no, actually the real function to be performed by the Tahsildar, now I have pulled up with Tahsildar. Suppose if we initiate contempt, the ultimate order will be either most of the cases will be rejected. Then you should file a departmental appeal or you file a certiorari of mandamus. That is, the litigation is multiplied. Therefore, it says the statutory authorities release their responsibility and perform the functions without any lapse of time. 99% of writ petitions can be avoided.
Thank you, Milad.
Mr.
Good evening, Lordships.
You used to appear before me, our bench often.
Yes, sir. I got a very good privilege to appear and some good orders also. For the
you used to appear for REPCO.
Yes, Milad. In fact, yes. Milad, my question is, Milad, suo motu can be seen as on the part of the executive as a judicial activism, where government failure to tackle a general public problem at large. Now, Lordship may kindly take COVID-19. Each of the high courts cognizance of the COVID situation, which led to this some tussle between the governments and certain high courts. And there was an attempt to transfer every case to Supreme Court also. As how Lordship sees whether it can be seen as a judicial activism which is required day-to-day affairs of the state Assam today to tackle the problem.
Mr. Ilangovan, under Disaster Management Act, do you mean how many directives are issued by the central government in turn by the state government?
Sir, I have no idea about it.
Nearly 2 years. Every 2 days during March 19, I think we started picking up from April, May onwards. May 20 onwards. Therefore, the central government will issue a broader circular, the state government will issue a circular. See, this is a sudden pandemic we are not anticipated. In fact, therefore, there is some practical difficulties. We are not prepared for it. That is why I said just now, we don't perform our duties and responsibilities. Even now, see, you see the mutton stalls or fish stalls or large malls, as if the world is going to die tomorrow or some system is going to collapse tomorrow. Everybody is trying in. I can understand social distance is difficult to follow. At least you are supposed to wear a mask. Not a mask, at least N95 or a surgical mask, not a name cloth mask. You may be having a strong immunity. The person who are in contact may be a weak immunity, he will get it. And he will spread it to 20 persons. Therefore, ultimately, it is our responsibility comes.
Though it is
therefore, the government machineries put to just the matter. Of course, the limited resources, they also perform well. Don't forget the fact they are also human beings. They also put a lot of stress, especially frontline personnel. We should always salute the frontline personnel. They are also put a lot of risk. Their functions or responsibilities stretch to the maximum. Therefore, sometimes the court feels it should be it is only a nature of a continuous management, because we are not here to say how they should go about. We should not say how the vaccine should be administered. That's why, in fact, the day before yesterday, a bench of Honorable Supreme Court headed by Honorable Mr. Justice Vinith Charan say we should not interfere too much in respect of COVID protocol.
Yes. That's
outer periphery we can monitor, we can say some guidelines, any specific issues arises, we will find out what's the problem.
As your Lordship correctly said, there are some guidelines while taking up the pill or suo motu cognizance. Plus, sometimes it can be used as a tool in the hands of the political parties. Plus, opposite party taking a...
That is why, Mr. Ilangovan, at the inception, I said, that is why I said there are 3 PAL, there are 3 more definitions: private interest litigation, paisa interest litigation, publicity interest litigation. In fact, I can add one more word. I kind of, it's a legal blackmail. You are saying legal, it's a legal blackmail. It's a legal blackmail. Therefore, the remedy is impose exemplary cost. or preventing the person to institute similar kind of public interest litigation in future. And if we feel a part of a cause of action really involves a real, genuine public interest, we will assume out of consideration, we will take up the suo motu. Of course, the difficulty, the advantage is more. Every system is subject to abuse and misuses. Therefore, we issue abuses and misuse out of consideration. If it is a larger public interest, we will filter it, we will deal with the matter. It is taking place. We can't prevent that, but the advantage is more.
Much obliged.
Advocate Dr. Drivayam Dinesh Sriramulu has raised a question in the chat box. He says, is there any strategy or committee to follow up and make sure that the orders passed under suo motu pills are implemented as directed by the Honorable Court?
No, there is in fact, there is a discussion came whether after closure of the writ petition or disposal of the writ petition, can we post the matter for complaints? Because it was felt the contempt jurisdiction is available. And High Court being a court on record under Article 215, because Contempt of Court Act, there is a time limit, 1 year. Of course, it is also being stressed. Since it is a continuous contempt, every day the period of limitation, first period of limitation start, therefore 1 year cannot come. Of course, Article 215, there is no outer time limit. Of course, there is a judgment of Honorable Single Judge, which is in respect of Article 215 also there is outer time limit. You cannot invoke the contempt jurisdiction in respect of a stale matter. A litigant should be alive to the situation, violation of the court order, and should be approached the court without any loss of time. Therefore, as long as contempt jurisdiction is available, therefore better invoke contempt. There cannot be any committee, there cannot be any subcommittee. Because there is effective remedies available in the form of contempt jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Especially under Article 215, where you have got a wider jurisdiction.
Advocate Anand Sivakumar.
And we have got a power to punish ourselves. The High Court has got power to punish even itself. So the committee, ultimately committee means committee. Then you may require another committee to supervise that committee, a larger committee to supervise that committee. Therefore, it will be a never-ending process. Of course, we award our own procedure, either in the form of continuous mandamus or in the form of a report after disposal or exercising our contempt jurisdiction.
Advocate Anand Sivakumar is there.
Very good evening, my dear Lordship.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Very good evening, Lordship. Lordship, a very general question. How do you have this check and balance in terms of like you have to balance judiciary as well as the executive, when you take this suo motu? It's very, very difficult sitting there and then not overboarding or getting into the shoes of executive, on a day-to-day basis, wherein you find that there is a gap in their execution.
The difficulty is ultimately the basic problem is the non-adherence to the law or non-implementation of the law. That is why I said, being a lawyer, you know that there are statutes and rules, administrative instructions available to deal with all aspects. It is there. Only difficulty is authority should enforce it. The standard answer is we lack personnel to monitor it. And ultimately, take for example, the traffic violation. You are supposed to follow lane discipline. How many of us follow lane discipline? How many of us are cutting? You are supposed to stop your vehicle before that white line. How many of us stop the vehicle on a white line? How many of us are stopping the vehicle once the orange bulb lights? Therefore, if you need to say a police constable come and book you, it is impossible. Therefore, self-discipline should come in. We lack self-discipline. Therefore, it should be inculcated. Unless we have our self-discipline, it is very difficult to enforce the law through court process. That is why there is a judgment of common cause. I think this 2008 Supreme Court, the judgment is authored by Honorable Justice Kagju, where the court cannot give solution to all evils, all problems in the society. You refuse the judgment. It's called common cause. I think the authored by Honorable Justice Kagju. It deals with all these aspects. I think it pertains to license plate, etc. The security license plate, I think it pertains to that. The Honorable Justice Kaji said, yes, there are problems, but you don't expect the court to give solution to all problems. It is impossible for us. It is impossible. And of course, it is for the statutory authorities to pull up and the superior officers to monitor. And if deliberately the misdeed is done by the officers, either departmental action should be taken. Sometimes we almost also suggest departmental action, and often said we are crossing Lakshman Rekha and venturing into the executive domain. Forgetting 3 pillars.
One more query in the chat box by Ms. Hemalata Jagapati. If new and substantial evidence was found after case was closed, if the court has suo motu cognizance to reopen the case?
Yes, definitely. Why not?
Thank you, Raj.
Why not? Why not? Suo motu review power is also here. Now, Mr. We know it for being mentioned, for being spoken to.
Now I invite V. Chandrasekhar, person who will always mostly defending these petitions.
Good evening, Malad.
Others are always used to appear for official respondents only.
Good evening, Malad. Lord, when your worship is off the dais and during the course of routine life happens to come across a gross illegality in front of your lordship's eyes, will your lordship be able to take suo motu cognizance of that?
Mr. Counsel, suo motu cognizance taken means I should have initiated very many contempts while I am sitting in open court. Sometimes the advocates, of course, misbehaves. Maybe there are very many kinds of advocates who are sober, advocates who are argumentative, advocates who are mostly identified with the clients. Normally, we judges see only the litigants being the advocates. Whatever time shown by the advocates, we are not affected by it because ultimately they are representing only the client's interest. And ultimately, if you are going to punish the advocate, it is not the advocate who is going to get punished, it is only the litigant who is going to get punished. Therefore, we all judges are very, very conscious of the fact. And you know that case of that Leela David, where chapel was thrown on the dice of the judge. Therefore, the opinion came before the DB of, I think, Honorable Justice Arjit Paseth and Honorable Justice Ashok Gangu. Honorable Arjit Paseth says, since it is a contempt on the face of the court, immediately should be punished. Whereas Honorable Justice Ashok Gangu said, the formality should follow. Then it gone before a larger bench, which said, if it happens on the face of the court, we can take suo motu cognizance and punish. If it is on the face of the court, on that case, a chapel was thrown. It landed on the dice of the judges. So it depends upon the judge's individual perception. And normally, the judges are supposed to have tons and tons of patience. And you should not show any emotions. And I personally feel our personal ambitions or personal concept or personal reasons should not come into play while doing judicial adjudication. Individually, you have got so many concepts or so many principles. At the time of judicial adjudication, it should not come into play. Especially if you exercise any criminal appellate jurisdiction, you know pretty well the person who has committed the offense. But lack of evidence, can you give moral conviction? You can't.
We invite Mr. Suresh Madhavraj.
Yeah. Good evening, Lord. Lord, if a single judge is taking up a suo motu proceedings, if a single judge is taking up a suo motu proceedings, Single judge normally cannot take up. That's why I said the procedure, because the rules is also, because I already read the rules.
The above rules, I am telling about the rules to regulate public interest litigation filed under Article 226 of the Constitution of India, number SROC 2/2010. Read that the above rules will not be applicable to public interest litigation taken on the file by High Court suo motu. The practice so far followed is that I already told, I am repeating for you once again. Normally, we will bring it to the knowledge of the Honorable Chief Justice through the registry. Or sometimes the concerned judge also meets the Honorable Chief Justice in person and tell him, either in the form of a newspaper report or some material. The Honorable Chief Justice feels it requires a suo motu consideration, suo motu cognizance. The Honorable Chief Justice accordingly directly receives. That's why I recently come across one case where a suo motu matter taken up by the Honorable Single Judge was directed to be listed before the very same Single Judge by the Honorable Chief Justice. Therefore, one case recently, it's still in pending adjudication. Therefore, let us not discuss about it.
Actually, my question was, can the bench interfere if a single judge is taking up a suo motu proceedings?
No. It's only Honorable Chief Justice. It is only Honorable Chief Justice. We can't. Because single judge, unless suo motu taken, suppose suo motu taken is bad, appeal is filed, all right. Writ appeal is filed, it will go before the roster bench. But somebody should file an appeal, no? We cannot, a person, the bench exercising the writ appeal jurisdiction cannot suo motu take up the appeal. The power is only vested with the Honorable Chief Justice. Suppose, see for example, a third bench is in charge of writ appeals. Yes, suo motu writ petition is being taken up by the single judge. The writ appeal bench cannot take up the suo motu writ appeal. Because the Honorable Chief Justice is the master of the roster.
Yes.
The Honorable Chief Justice, somebody should, because you know that an order should be challenged in a manner known to law.
Thank you, thank you.
We have Justice Vaidyanathan having joined our session.
Yeah.
We're happy to invite Justice Vaidyanathan to share his thoughts. That should be
all
our
questions can be posed to Honorable Justice Vaidyanathan, also my esteemed brother.
Satyaji, good evening.
Who was my co-traveler, co-passenger in our share auto?
Good evening, Satyaji.
Good evening, Vaidiji.
See, just I'm listening to you and learning from you. That's all.
No. I said it is a learning process where I don't claim I know a bit of anything. It is a learning process. I also learn from the questions posed or queries raised.
Yes, sir. In fact, you refer to Article 215. In fact, I have also rendered one judgment saying that Section 20 of the Contempt of Courts Act cannot abridge the powers and Article 215 of the Constitution of India.
There is a judgment of a single judge. I don't want to name the judge where he dealt with the matter because contempt is filed. Order would be 2015. Contempt is filed maybe 2018-19. The learned judge felt since the limitation period is 1 year, you cannot bought by limitation. Only explanation, as long as order is not completed, every day of violation constitutes a fresh cause of action. Therefore, it is within the jurisdiction.
Yes, I have in fact, in my judgment, I have referred to all those judgments.
Yes.
That's Mr. Advocate TV Krishnamachari wanted to.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Vanakkam.
With regard to perjury, my lords, perjury, it will have any take up in the suo motu contempt.
No. We are entitled to take perjury, Mr. TV Krishnamachari. How many? Then you know it should be followed 340 CRPC preliminary inquiry.
Yes, my lord.
How many cases? I think you are also practicing on criminal side. Criminal trial, normally, if the investigation officer feels the witness is going to turn hostile, not support the case of the prosecution, normally you will record 164 statements.
Yes, my lords.
And if he resides from 164 statement, a perjury action can be taken.
Yes.
Of course, the trial court will say it is subject to the after disposal of the appeal. Because the appeal of the first instance is the continuation of the original proceedings.
Yes.
I have seen in none of the cases perjury action taken, even in respect of a person who resigned from 164. The government officials, the village administrative officers, in respect of Panchanama recovery, the village administrative officers used to turn hostage. Not even departmental action has been taken. As a practitioner and as a judge, in none of the cases I come across any cases under which perjury is initiated. Of course, if we want to initiate perjury, 340 CRP disciplinary inquiry is there. It remain like any other statutory provisions, it remain on record. Perjury, if you want record evidence, you want record evidence, like criminal contempt. If somebody wants a trial, then you should be there.
Yes.
Witnesses should be put in box. That normally it happens in criminal contempt. It's a tedious process. And you know the criminal contempt is proof is beyond reasonable doubt.
Yes, ma'am. Very much, very much.
It is there. Perjury is there. We are entitled to take action for perjury. But normally, like it is there. We will say we will initiate perjury. Then interpretation of perjury, whether the documents are used during the course of judicial proceeding, that itself is a matter for interpretation.
Yes. Yes.
There are line of judgment to that effect.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Law student Karthi Shankar has raised something in chat box. I will try to unmute so that the student can have.
Yes, by all means.
Mr. Karthi Shankar. Yes, Mr. Karthi.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
I have this doubt, sir. So, Madras High Court, they have passed an order dated 17/5/2021 regarding the extension of the limitation period, in which there's this one point where they have mentioned the extension of the remand period, sir. In under Criminal Procedural Code, 167 subclause 2 says every 15 days the remanded person should be produced in front of a magistrate. But this extension denies that right to him. But the order does not.
No, include not, Mr. Counsel. The remand normally take place when the accused is produced before the court. Now almost all jails and magistrates have video conference facility. They can be produced before the video conference, provided the person for whom the detention sought to be extended used to be put on notice. In fact, Mr. Ramajayam, can you connect it? Mr. Ramajayam, District Judge Mr. Ramajayam is also on, because I think he can throw some practical thing. Mr. Ramajayam, please.
Good evening, Mulad.
Yes, please answer to the query.
Good evening, Mulad.
Please answer to the query.
Mulad, 167.
Then I will continue.
Yes, Mulad. 167 says, Mulad, first remand for the purpose of first remand, the accused must be produced before the magistrate.
In person.
Yes, in person, Mulad. For extension, Mulad, personal protection is not necessary, Mulad. As your Lordship said, Mulad, it can be done by video conferencing facility, Mulad. 167 specifically says about the power of the magistrate, Mulad. It can be extended only up to a period of 15 days. But when your Lordship exercises the power under Article 226 of the Constitution and passes orders, Mulad, the limitation period, Mulad, will not come into operation. That is my.
No. His case is under the garb of extension. His case, technically, what he wants to say is the accused are never produced for remand of judicial extension of judicial custody. I think, Mr. Shankar, you want to say that, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
The accused are never produced for extension of remand.
Okay, sir.
That's what you want to. That's what you want to say.
And another thing, this extension.
No. I am adding to that.
Yes, sir.
Normally, habeas corpus petition should be filed on the ground. Since the remand period has not been extended, he is in illegal custody. Therefore, his body should be produced. He should be let on liberty.
Okay.
There are line of judgment to that effect. Subsequently, the accused is produced, and his period of remand is extended by means of a judicial order. And SLP, if he is actually in judicial custody pursuant to the valid order of demand, then there cannot be any order setting him at liberty. That is also interpretation.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay.
Date of filing of the habeas corpus petition is in judicial remand pursuant to the valid order of remand, then HCP cannot be ordered. That is also a push. Because at the worst, of course, you can go for compensation, etc., but HCP on that ground cannot be made. Of course, now we have got a video conference facilities because it is every time, because practical difficulty I am telling you. For commanding the prisoner, the AR constable, the concerned I go to the prison with the aid of AR constable, they should be brought in police van to the court, they should be produced in person, then they should be, remand should be extended. Sometimes you know that some cases, even the police van is violated and the accused are continued to be butchered and cut into pieces. Now, because of now almost all courts got video conference facility, even the jails are also provided with video conference facility. They can be produced through video conference, remand period expert, provided, as I already said, the identity should be established. The person for whom the remand period is sought to be extended, he should be identified, he should be.
Okay, sir.
We have Muruganandam
Thanks, sir.
Manoharan.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, yes.
We have Muruganandam Manoharan wanted to raise.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Mr. Muruganandam.
But yes, my lord, I have a question, my lord. In fact, my lord,
he is also a famous public interest litigant.
I did not file it for become famous, my lord.
No, I know it.
Yes, my lord. In fact, my lord, I wanted to know your lordship feeling about these, my lord, these facts, my lord. In fact, my lord, is your lordship in favor regarding, my lord, expeditious disposal of cases in minimum time, my lord, or my lord, deep scrutiny of cases of both sides, my lord.
Mr. Muruganandam, there are two things said about the justice delivery system.
Yes, my lord.
Hurried justice results in buried justice. Hurried justice is buried justice.
Yes, my lord.
Delayed justice is denied justice.
Yes, my lord.
I believe the delayed justice and denied justice is better than hurried justice and buried justice.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
99% of them are not in a position to approach the Honorable Supreme Court of India.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Because the distance and the cost of litigation. Yes. Therefore, of course, I don't subscribe the view that the delayed justice, denied justice is justifiable. I said this both is the delayed justice, denied justice is better than hurried justice and buried justice.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
We feel
so you want a particular time frame.
No, my lord. In fact, my lord, we feel, my lord, whole cases, my lord, given, my lord, elaborate time, my lord, we see, my lord, judgments, my lord, we saw, my lord, we able to see, my lord, elaborate judgments in, my lord, cases, my lord, we think, my lord, but because of the, my lord, pendency of cases, my lord, the court.
Mr. Muruganandam, that's why I think join later, I do not know.
Yes.
I said, if the statutory authorities follow the statutes, because most of them exercise quasi-judicial.
Yes, madam. Yes,
they are supposed to be aware of the statutory functions, statutory rules under which they exercise quasi-judicial power.
Yes, madam.
They perform the function promptly, diligently.
Yes, madam.
Any litigation, especially under Article 226, because majority of, as per statistics available, majority of the litigations are only under Article 226.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
And what to do? If you say, if you pass a cryptic order, they say the order without reasons is earth without oxygen, or earth without water without oxygen.
Yes.
If you like the elaborate order, they say the order should be not so lengthy. You should be precise to the point. Where to draw the line?
You will have to say that.
Otherwise, you say I argued 10 points. The judgment meets out only 2 points.
Yes.
Probably the last question.
That is why, Mr. Muruganandam, I used to say as a judge, say something. You take one heavy arbitration matter.
Yes, madam.
Act as a sole arbitrator.
Yes, madam.
Give your award. Then you know the difficulties of the adjudicator.
Yes, madam. I'll
sometimes we feel there may not be any factual assistance. The legal assistance, some lawyers may not have a facility in the form of this access to electronic system like this electronic mobility or the e-journals, etc. So they may not be well versed with the march of law. At least they should be assisted factually. The law is always based on facts.
Yes, madam.
It is not vice versa.
Yes, madam. So
why we reserve some cases, why we reserve judgment is when we go through.
Yes, madam.
We find neither the petitioner nor the respondent brought to the knowledge of the important factual aspects.
Yes, madam. Ultimately, the judgment will be brought.
Therefore, the adjudication based upon the legal position hinges upon the factual position.
Yes, madam.
So it makes a hell of a lot of difference.
Yes, madam. Then my lord, may I take, my lord, that my lord, your lordship in favor of, my lord, deep scrutiny of, my lord, both the facts, my lord, as well as irrespective of, my lord, time, my lord.
No. That is why he said sometimes lawyer, due to pressure of work or I don't say inability, they got their own limitations or some difficulty. Yes. See, ultimately, the judicial adjudication is for the benefit of the litigants.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
See, in the process, the lawyers are getting benefited in the form of a professional fees, and we are the adjudicators. Ultimately, the lawyers and judges are both sides of the same coin. We are here to advance the cause of the litigants. Yes. Therefore, litigants should not suffer. Suppose if you don't, it is open to the judge to easily say,
yes, madam,
these grounds are adjudiced, therefore I am deciding this matter.
Yes.
Ultimately, your judicial conscience depends upon your judicial conscience. Do you mean to say that since the advocate did not render proper assistance, yes, do you mean to say that can you decide the case?
No. Yes.
Suppose if you feel there are judgments which the learned advocate did not cite, normally we will cite the decision either in his favor or which way against him.
Yes, madam. Yes,
that is what all judges do.
Yes, madam.
Sometimes that's why you find you might not have cited any decision. When the judgment comes, there may be 10 decisions.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. I'm great.
Because the judges are supposed to be aware, they apply the law.
Yes, madam. Yes.
And they will not say that you did not cite any decisions.
Yes, madam. Yes.
None of the judges say that no decisions were cited by the advocates. We suo moto work out on the position. We applied the decision. Now you say none of the judgments the judges say like that.
Yes. Yes, madam.
Sometimes you know that some government advocate used to concede also. We did not say the advocate has conceded.
Yes, madam. Yes.
He has vehemently argued.
There is one query in the chat box by Arthur. Why suo?
There are 15 queries in the chat box.
I already read a few.
But answer one by one.
Why suo moto review of the decisions already given in the suo moto or appeal petition is not happening? We have been experiencing in the area of road safety, sand quarrying, effluent disposal by chemical dye industries. The recent spill on RV mirror in two-wheelers was a decision by the High Court some years back. If there is suo moto review of such earlier decisions, maybe such spill could have been avoided.
Mr. Om Prakash, I am telling you there are, because there may be some criticism as if since I dealt with the matter, I am telling you. I don't claim any credit. One of the matters came for consideration. I found, because when I travel, I used to say everything about what is happening on the roadside. I found most of the autos, they put in rear view mirrors inside the auto. You know, there is a famous Vivek joke. The auto driver full left indicator, show his right hand, then go straight. What is the use of putting rear view mirrors inside the auto? The rear view mirrors are not meant to see what is your passengers are sitting on the back seat is doing. Therefore, I took up the matter in one of the matters. That pertains to, I think, fixing of the auto fare for autos in Coimbatore, where Mr. Edwin Prabhar has filed the matter. It came before the DB of Honorable Chief Justice, Honorable Justice Kaul and myself. Incidentally, I took up that issue. Why almost all autos, even you go now, most of the auto, they filter rear view mirrors inside the auto, not outside the auto. And now all these fashion bikes, they say the rear view mirrors put inside, or they will totally remove both. At least if you don't put the left rear view mirror, supposed to put the right rear view mirror. So that is why I say self-discipline has come into play. Can we expect the traffic police to intervene, find out each and every violator? It is physically impossible. Therefore, your self-discipline should come into play. Where is our self-discipline? Sometimes it cannot be enforced. Sometimes we do continuous mandamus, inquiry, we do continuous, the judges do, the High Court do continuous mandamus, environmental matter continuous mandamus is being done, even NGT also it is being done, sewage treatment plant, river obstruction, the solid waste disposal management. In fact, Delhi Ghaziabad principal bench is taken up the matter, where suo motu orders are passed, giving direction to Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board. But ultimately, it is left to the authority. They got all the powers, but every time they need some knot to remind them. So sometimes we are also tired of it. Every time we remind them, we cajole them, we threaten them. So ultimately, I mean, my little bit of experience ultimately said, unless we have a civic sense and self-discipline, have a respect for law or adherence to the law, it is impossible to enforce through court decrees or directions, etc. And if you over-enforce the law, that is why there is a famous dictum. If you want to kill the law, strictly enforce it. You know that 3 or 4 cases, traffic constable intervened. And in the process, a two-wheeler rider skidded and got injured. Sometimes he goes without helmet, sometimes high speed, traffic constable intervenes. Ultimately, traffic constable is beaten up. Nobody questioning the violator. You are only questioning the enforcer. So it is impossible to enforce. The certain kind of thing impossible to. Then how many cases a traffic constable can put? Because most of the cases, nobody wears a helmet. It is for their own safety. Nobody wears a helmet. Even if they wear a helmet, they won't put that the lock. Sometimes they put the helmet only on the petrol tank. Or even on the side rear view mirror. So unless the self-discipline should kick in. Therefore, in fact, taking this webinar, I appeal to the social media, print media to educate the public, because Tamil la solra mari adimel adi vaital ammiyum nagarunger mari, then we sonna nadakum. They slowly inculcate pannada, at least adutha generation varum, younger generation ka then we can teach. If younger generation varanga school la irundhu varanga chinna pillaila irundhu varanga padichanga adutha generation nalla irukum. Therefore the social media, print media have a great role to play, and I appeal to them to do it.
Thanks, Miller. Lastly, finally, I invite Mr. A. Prakash.
Hey, please, Miller. In one of the repetition Lordship order, the Street Vendors Act, Miller, 2014, in which Lord Miller posted for compliance, but till date no complaints had. In the meantime, Miller, they have filed an extension petition also, Miller. Miller, is this possible? They will take the case again.
As
a suo motu, your Lordship, order them to comply the case.
Mr. Counsel, that is why I said either you move the registry to list the matter, because I am not that is why I also used to say that I borrowed the phrase of Honorable Justice Kaul used to say, I gave up the practice of advising when I was the judge. Therefore, you lawyer, you are the best person to advise your client as to how to go about. Therefore, it is open to you to bring it to the knowledge of registry in the form of circulating letter, or you can initiate contempt jurisdiction, because non-adherence of any court order always invites contempt.
Yes.
Of course, there may be some difficulty in listing the matter because of this COVID protocol. Only real urgent matters are being listed.
Thank you. We had almost about 1.5 hours.
What is this? Another 15 chats?
There are so many chats which have thanked your Lordship for the wonderful session. And And most of the questions I just put it across. Yes, my lord. It was only the most of the things which they have thanked for the session, and thank your lordship for the day. Now,
yes, Mr. Sobra, please continue. I don't have time also.
Before the final thing,
Saturday evening, therefore I got some time.
Final thing which is left behind is only the vote of thanks to be given by Mr. Ashok Pati. Sir Ashok Pati, out on.
Yes. Good evening, my lords.
Yes, Mr.
Lord, it has been a pleasure, my lord, hearing your lordship, my lord. It has always been a pleasure hearing your lordship on the dais, my lord. And this time we had the opportunity of your lordship expressing the law as it is to us. It was very helpful. The line of citations that your lordship had given us, cited and informed us is very, very useful for us. My lord, we also thank your lordship for accommodating your lordship's time to spend time with us and pass on the knowledge that your lordship has. I know, my lords, it's not the entire knowledge, it's only the tip of the iceberg that we have got today. But we look forward for much more, my lord. And we also thank your lordship, wish your lordship a great tenure in the NGT, my lord. And thanks one and all for being present.
No. See, in a lighter vein, the Honorable Chairperson day before yesterday congratulated me for getting one more year. Yes. Then I sent a reply to the Honorable Chairperson, early exit is the better. Early exit is the better. I don't claim that I possess knowledge. What I possess is not even a tiny bit of knowledge, because I said law is a ocean, like a universe. Every day we learn. It is always a interactive session, and I also learn from the honorable and learned advocates, and the pleasure is always mine. I thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity to interact with the members of the noble profession, namely the lawyers. I pray to the Almighty to give the lawyers and their families, kith and kin, healthy, happy, long, peaceful, and prosperous life. Thank you very much. Let God be with you.
Also thank Vaidyanathan for having joined.
In this hour of crisis.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.